Good afternoon and welcome to our Sunset Safari. We are coming to you live from Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Senzo, and it is a very, very warm welcome to all of you. The sun is out now and the temperature has skyrocketed northwards, which will hopefully mean that lots and lots of animals will be out and around, particularly at the waterholes, which is what our plan will be for the day. Now, remember, we are coming to you live, which means that you can ask us lots of questions, and as well as any comments that you may have, and to say hello if you want to, and you can do that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat if you would like to do so. Right, now the plan for this afternoon is first thing off the bat is that Senzo is disappointed today. We have beautiful sunny skies and he has gone sockless. Can you believe it? Senzo, show everybody that you are sockless. Come on. Or are these invisible socks? These invisible socks. But what he does have, which we will show later when we get to Treehouse Dam, when he does his little time lapse, is that he's got a serious set of shades on today and a belt that Lou, I think, commented on and said that it is a very nice belt, or Megan, one of the two. They liked his belt, so he's got a fancy belt on and fancy shades. Both of you, yes, he got a compliment from both Lou and Megan. There we go. So it just goes to show how fancy his belt and shades are. So we'll get to those a little bit later, of course, but our plans are, like I say, to check some of the waterholes. It was a bit quiet this morning. We battled a little bit with any sort of signs of tracks. We had a nice morning of birds. Lots of interesting little birds were out. The Verreaux's eagle owl was extra cool. And so I'm hoping this afternoon, with the sun coming out, the clouds breaking, and warm weather expected for the next few days, that maybe, just maybe, we're going to get some ellies coming out, or potentially one of our cats has gone towards a waterhole to quench its thirst. I did get an update that Mvula was spotted this morning very, very late in the morning, but it is still north of our boundary, so it is not in any way on our side. But what concerns me, and what I hope doesn't happen, as much as I would love to see Mvula, is that I just don't want to see him where he is right now, because he's literally sitting, from what I can gather, about 400 meters north of the den site for the Nkahuma female, and if he were to come across those cubs, he most certainly would kill them. So I want him to stay away from there. He can stay where he is now on the northern side of Tambuti Dam, and he can mess around there and then come back to us a little bit further east or west, but he can't come down that drainage. He's forbidden. I'm laying down the law now already and telling him that he may not come that way. Of course, he'll do whatever he wants because he's not going to listen to me because he's a wild animal, but we can throw it into the universe anyway. Dear watcher, you're asking how my bite is doing. Not really any better. I suppose the swelling is going down a little bit, but it's still pretty red and still a bit itchy, but yeah, I'll be alright. I'm sure it's going to be okay, but you can see it there. It's still kind of red and swollen, and the redness, at least going up my arm, is starting to slow down, which is good. It hasn't extended past my elbow now. It was at one point coming right up my arm, but it seems to have slowed down. It's no longer nearly as red, but it is still very itchy, so I'm not sure what's done it. Tayla was very concerned. She sent me a message saying, did you get bitten by a sack spider? Which I don't think so. It doesn't look like there's puncture marks for fangs there. I think maybe some sort of little insect got me, and that's just caused a bit of an itch. Sometimes you get what it feels like is almost like a velvet ant sting. So we get these things called velvet ants, which are actually not ants at all. They're parts of the Mytilidae family, which is the wasp family. They're just a wingless, flightless wasp, not loss. And they have a long stinger that comes out and hits you in the arm, and it's quite painful at the time. And I remember yesterday morning when I was driving that something didn't feel right and was quite sore, and then the itch after that is really quite something, and that's what it feels like. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those. Maybe it got up my sleeve somehow and ended up whacking me when I bent my elbow, and that's how I've ended up with this thing. If that's what it feels like, I have been stung by them before a few times, and it does happen. Now in the distance I can see some of our striped animals, and they seem as though they are slowly but surely meandering towards Treehouse Dam themselves, so we'll probably follow them into that area. And while we do that, I'm not the only one out here. Brent Leo Smith is racing towards the spotted beautiful cats that are Cheetah, so let's jump across with him.
welcome to the magnificent Mara. I have dangerous Dave Easter on camera, and he is quite the dish. And we are heading back towards the cheetah. My name is Brent Smith. That female cheetah we're following this morning, she, unfortunately for her, did not manage to catch anything. So it got quite hot quite quickly, so I'm hoping she hasn't moved too far. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us. And oh, poor Tristan. Oh, did the little bugs bite you, Tristy? Oh, shame. Tristan does seem to have a knack for being eaten by bugs. We all get bitten, it's just that some people tend to react quite badly. And I think, shame, Tristan and Steph also, the ticks, they react quite badly. Scott, myself and Jamie, we're quite lucky. We get bitten, but we don't have the same reactions. So it's amazing how different people bitten by the same insect or tick will actually react completely differently. So, poor little Tristan. Tut, tut, tut. Okay, so the cheetah got chased from this area by hyenas earlier, and she just kept moving east towards the main crossings. We left her near Dusty Crossing. She was having a snooze under a Balanites tree. Hold on for the bumpy bumps. There we go. Now, our backup plan, because the cheetah is in the high usage zone, so she might disappear into an area where we can't see her and we can't off-road. On my way to the cheetah this morning, I bypassed the sausages and the sausage tree pride, 5 females and the cubs, and they were near Laga and Zovo. So that is our backup plan for this afternoon. Of course, there's always a myriad of magical things to see in the Mara. Now, while we rush towards where we last had that cheetah, let's go back to Tristan, who better be careful, because there are lots of bugs near waterholes.
Yes, Brent. You be careful of all those elephants out there that you attract that end up causing you to dodder around like an old man with your hip. And remember, Brent is not really able to walk very well at the moment. He's got a bad hip from being hit by an elephant, which caused a bit of damage to it way back when, and he still hasn't fixed it, even though I've been nagging him, Jamie's been nagging him, Ali's been nagging him, but he's been too busy up there. So hopefully someday soon he will get it fixed, because we don't want him to end up in a situation where he's not going to be able to walk. Now, our zebras have just disappeared. They are very shy of us for some reason. They were walking on the road, and as soon as I got close, they just decided, nope, I'm not interested, and they're now deep into the bush and gone a long way, and they're trying to, almost as though they're hiding from us. I don't know why they would be so shy. I haven't seen this group around for the last few days, so I'd imagine it's a newish group that's come in from somewhere else. So we get a lot of movement of zebra, and maybe after the rain they're looking for a little bit of nutrients somewhere in this general vicinity. But you can see them just disappearing deeper and deeper into the thicket, and I'm surprised. It's quite warm. I would have thought they would have turned south towards Treehouse, but they're turning north, and there we go, gone. Just shows you that striping pattern once it gets behind a tree is also very good camouflage. So there was about 5 or 6 of them that I counted, but all of them unfortunately left. That was the last one that we could see going northwards towards quarantine. Maybe they'll show up at the dam cam at some point today. That would be quite nice if they did that. I think, like I said, Treehouse Dam is maybe where I'm going to check, and then failing Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, I want to also go up towards Buffelshoek Dam, and maybe even Chitwa Dam. We haven't really spent much time at Chitwa. Every time I've gone to Chitwa, we end up bumping into a cat, which is also not the worst thing in the world, but I might go and spend some time down at Chitwa Dam. It's just such a beautiful part of the world, and particularly on an afternoon like this where we've got some nice sunshine, it's warm, it's pleasant. I would imagine Chitwa Dam will be thriving with activity and will be really beautiful around that sunset period. So if we don't have much luck at any of these other dams, I think that's where we're going to head, and we're going to just enjoy it. We'll go and check the gymnogene nest for those that are interested in the gymnogene nest. We'll check on our crocodile and hippos, and hopefully there might even be some ellies that are drinking there, because it's been a long ellie absence the last few weeks. We've had, intermittent sightings. There's been 1 or 2 sightings here and there, but otherwise not that many to speak of. Now, I thought I saw something on the termite mound, but it's not. Bree, you think I should get Brent a nice walker? Yes, I've considered it. I've considered getting him one of those walkers and then we'll get someone in Kenya to bead it up for him so that we make it all fancy and make him at least smile with a nice, beautiful walker, because he's going to need it at some stage. I've also was thinking walking stick, crutches, all kinds of different things that I've thought about. The wheelchair I think is a bit excessive because it's not that bad. He's still able to do it, but a walker would be quite funny. I would quite enjoy seeing Brent Leo Smith in a walker. Now, there's some impalas off to my left, and don't disappear because you are the one I'm looking for. Now, there's a female that's just on the left-hand side of the herd and is moving behind a bush now, unfortunately, and she's slowly ghosting into the shade there. It's that female where the male is sniffing, but she's the first female I've seen that's showing signs of being quite heavily pregnant. Look at her tummy. You see how her stomach is very rounded. So she's the first impala female that I've seen that looks as though her little lamb is growing quickly and is getting rather large. Remember that some of them should be giving birth in about a month's time, or just over a month's time, and so that female is starting to definitely show that there is some sign of a little one on its way, which is good news. Now I can hear some dwarf mongoose here. Where are you guys? There's one right there, but it's not going to be visible to Senzo because it's directly behind the car. I wonder if it will stay where it is. Did it run across the road, Senzo, or is it still here? There it is. It's just sitting behind at the base of a knobthorn, a young knobthorn. There it is, its little tail and bum sticking out. And these little guys have been quite entertaining around camp today. I was having a little game with our dwarf mongoose that we see at camp, because they've decided now that they like to climb into the bins and to be able to go and rummage around in there. So if hyenas and hornbills were not enough, dwarf mongoose have also arrived. And so this afternoon, when I was sitting having a glass of water at the kitchen and I was watching them coming and going and trying to get into the bin, I would walk towards the bin and they wouldn't be able to see me, and all of a sudden I would be looming over them and there would just be complete panic inside the bin, and they'd run around in circles inside the bin worrying about where they were going to go, and then quickly they would jump out and then scurry off, and then as soon as I turned my back into the bin again. So it was quite fun just to watch them going about it, and it was, I think they were having just as much fun as I was. It certainly left me giggling for a few minutes before I then decided, no, we can't actually have them in the bin and chase them off. I know it's a horrible thing, but at the end of the day we can't have animals eating human food. It's not good for them, and ultimately they then become so reliant on it that they don't actually go out and find food for themselves, and it causes them to then get aggressive if you try and chase them, and you never know what's going to happen. I know dwarf mongooses is not exactly a very intimidating threat, but a bite from a dwarf mongoose won't be pleasant. I can assure you that. They've got sharp little teeth and it will hurt, but it's just not good for them. They need to survive. Their young ones need to learn how to forage and need to find food. They can't rely on people because, well, that's just not good at all. And also, as Lou is alluding to in my ear, that they do carry rabies sometimes. So mongoose are a big vector of rabies. In fact, they're one of the biggest carriers of rabies out here. Them and kudu, funnily enough, are two of the biggest carriers of rabies out in the wild areas of the Sabi Sands, and so you've got to be a little bit careful with mongoose. I think, imagine a rabid group of dwarf mongoose. That would be scary. I feel like they would just overrun everything and just attack with violence. It would be quite threatening for sure. I would be nervous of them. Now, I haven't driven Shabamu Road and I can't even remember how long. I was thinking about it now as I'm just bumbling down and going towards Shabamu Pans. This used to be such a hot spot for us. We used to find leopards here often. We used to check here regularly. Lions often used to walk here. But since these pans have dried out, it's become almost a dead zone. So it just shows you how these seasonal pans are vitally important and how the distribution of animals changes during the dry season, and how everybody's got to adapt to a drier period and a lack of water in certain areas. Even though Shongile and Hosana used to spend all their time in these general vicinities, we used to see Tangana coming around here, Shadow and her cub. We used to see the Birminghams and even the Styx Pride down this way from time to time. And now very seldom have I been down here in the last, I would say, 2 months. I haven't had a sighting anywhere near Shabamu Pans, maybe even 3 months since I last had a sighting this side, which is a far cry from when I first started. When I first started here, we used to have pretty much every 2-3 days we would see something around Shabamu Pans. So interesting how it changes everything. thing. It also shows you how areas get utilized a lot more. And I was on Twitter just before drive started, and I see that we posted a photo about buffalo, because the 2 buffalo herds are north of us, and we were hoping they're going to come south. And I saw a comment saying that we needed more water holes because then maybe we'd have more animals. Now, yes, we might have more animals if we had more water holes, but remember that a lot of these water holes are not naturally supposed to occur here, which means that us putting more water holes causes a lot of problems. We get issues with too many animals being around, which then causes overgrazing. Also animals trampling what grazing there is, so you're going to get an influx of buffalo, elephant, which are very heavy on the environment, and so you're going to get a massive amount of grazing happening. Also zebra and wildebeest, and that's going to then lead to very, very poor grazing conditions for come the summer months. It also means that you're going to have animals destroying the bottom layer, which opens it up then for invasive species of plants. So you get a thickening of that area with sickle bush or black monkey orange, or plants that aren't really eaten very much. And it's basically nature's way of putting a bandage over there to try and stop the animals from coming there and to try and get that to rejuvenate. So soil quality declines because animals then stop feeding in those areas. There's no fertilizing of the soil, no turning of it with the feet, no defecating, like I say, to fertilize. And then also it exposes it to erosion, so you'll end up, when it's completely bare, rain comes and that area gets eroded, and that destroys this section. And so we need to be very careful about water holes, and the Sabi Sands in general has got way too much water already. So I know it doesn't sound like it, and when we look at these dams we think to ourselves, well, these are not very big water sources and surely this is not that much. But if you think that every single property has 3 or 4 big dams, and you count how many different lodges there are within the Sabi Sands, plus the 2 rivers, we're actually a very water dense area, and that's why we have a high density of animals. But it also means that we have a lot of problems when it comes to the animals here, because at the end of the day they are very densely packed in it, and it causes a lot of grazing issues. So you've got to be very careful about water, and the number of water holes we have now has been done, an environmental impact study has been done on them, and we're okay now. Some of the guys were asked to close certain water holes, just to try and reduce the impact in places that were a little bit closer to the river systems and they didn't need nearly as much water. Up here we don't have any permanent water source like a river, and so these dams are allowed and are okay, and they are vitally important for our game viewing in these areas. And the system is okay because we don't have too many of them, so if we added more it would be a little bit of a problem. And that's why we don't pump the pan up at Gari Dam, because that dam has water, and only when it goes dry do we start to pump it. So James, you say we haven't done a tour of the dams for a while, and it sounds like a great plan for the afternoon. I think so, James. I think it's the perfect conditions after a little cold front. Go and just check around the dams and see what we can find, and mosey on along, and maybe, just maybe, we get lucky with something. You never know. I think it's the right conditions for dams to be fairly busy this afternoon. In fact, I've got this jersey on and I'm going to take it off shortly because I'm absolutely cooking in the sun now. So it is the right conditions. Senzo, is your time lapse working on this one or not? Because if it's not, then I'm not going to worry. Yes? No? No. It's working? Alright, so here we go. Senzo's GoPro is now working. Earlier it did not want to work. Now it is working, so we're going to do Senzo's little time lapse at Treehouse Dam. Senzo, let's hope there's no lion or leopards. Well, we can hope for a lion or a leopard, but let's hope we spot it before you jump out. Sebastian was telling me the other day he came this way. He came here the other day during the day outside of drive time to do his time lapse, and he said he jumped off not paying attention, and all of a sudden there was this bolt and Tingana came running past him and down the drainage line. So you've got to be a little careful when you get out here, and just check also because of hippos that we sometimes get. Now Peyton, you say today definitely feels like an elephant or leopard day. Hopefully or both. Wouldn't it be nice if we go to twin dams and there's a leopard and elephants together at the dam? I think that would be a perfect way to spend our afternoon. I certainly would enjoy seeing both of them together, but if not, one at one dam and one at another will be also another way. Now you can see, look at Senzo. I'm going to ask him when he comes a little bit closer, once he's done with his time lapse, just to do a little fashion pirouette so that we can show you his belt and his shades, because he's looking very spiffy, and I actually need to get out of the way so that you can all see how he's dressed today. Green shirt again. The green shirt seems to be a favorite. I think we had green shirt yesterday as well, and nice khaki pants, which is perfect for the bush. And now we need to see back and other side, but I'll ask him to do so when he gets a bit closer. There we go, there's back. He's a crocodile today, apparently. There's crocodile written on the back of his shirt. Apparently him and Brent had an argument over the lion shirt because both of them wanted the lion shirts, and I think Brent eventually won, so Senzo then took the crocodile shirt. But I'm going to ask Senzo just to come a little bit closer, and then he's going to do a little pirouette and show us everything. Alright, Senzo, when you come closer. Okay, there we go. Now you need to do a little fashion turn so everyone can see your belt. There's that very, very colourful belt. So Senzo is providing some of that, and then you can see the shades as well. Very, very retro. I like it, Senzo. There we go. A little smile for the ladies. Well done. And right, off we go. Snazzy, you're asking if Senzo can do a cartwheel for us. Well, I think he probably could, but not on this terrain, because he's going to cartwheel himself straight into Treehouse Dam, which probably is not the best way to start our afternoon safari. Senzo, I'm sure, will be not very thrilled to be not only wet, but covered in the slime that will cover Treehouse Dam floor. So I think we'll leave the cartwheel for a safer, more level platform. As you can see, it's quite steep going down towards the dam there, so we'll have to ask Senzo to do a cartwheel on another day. Maybe the next time we do a bushwalk or something, we will do, in fact I think tomorrow morning we might be doing one. Tomorrow morning or Thursday morning we're going to be doing a bushwalk, but we'll ask Senzo then to do a cartwheel for us on bushwalk. And maybe we should get the two girls out of FC at some point and we do a cartwheel competition. What do you think, Senzo? Yeah? Okay, Senzo agrees. Cartwheel competition at some stage. Megan says no. Megan, why not? I'm disappointed, Megan. I thought of all the people out here, you would be into the cartwheels. Megan is a very vibey character. Megan likes all kinds of interesting things. So Megan has now just said no, she actually takes that back. She will definitely compete, as she says #best attitude. Yes, Megan, it is important to have the best attitude, and so I agree, you will be part of it. In fact, it's not like you even had a choice. Between Lou, myself and Senzo, we were going to grab you anyway, and we'll wait for Ali as well, so we get a couple more participants involved as well, and then all of us will do a cartwheel down the road, maybe together. Imagine that's a group cartwheel. I can see that going completely pear-shaped and us ending up hitting into one another. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because, well, I feel like I might squash somebody if I cartwheel into them. Yes, we are in the entertainment industry, you're right, Lou, and yes, I'm sure some people will enjoy it. I'm not sure if I fell on my face I would enjoy it that much, but, well, you never know. Now, interesting, I am busy driving here and having a little look, and there's a track. It's difficult to see it because of how bright the light is at the moment, but there is a track for a very large hyena. In fact, at first I thought it might be a lioness coming down the road. I'm trying to find one that we can actually see nicely, but I would imagine this must be for one of the high-ranking females within our clan. So maybe Madam or Pretty or one of them that's up this way, because that track is really quite large. It's so difficult though with the light that I've got, but it's just here on my right hand side, in the shadow, Senzo. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. We'll try and see if we can get it. Maybe you need to just calm down. I'll try and show you. There we go. So that's where the hyena tracks are. You can see them in the sand there. There's a back foot and a front foot, but the front foot you see much wider, broader track, and then that small back foot that you see there. And in the center, you've got it exact right. Well done, Senzo. That's fine. That's perfect like that. So you can see the back foot over the top of the front foot there. So the direct register that is very common in predatory animals. They like to walk like that. And that front foot, I would say, is about the size of a big male leopard or young lioness, and it is really a very large one. So it must be one of our big females, or even our matriarchal female, and heading towards Treehouse Dam, which seems to be an area that they frequent quite often. I haven't seen the matriarchal females for quite some time, but they seem to love this area and seem to go from Treehouse and then head southwards towards Hoffman's and Little Gowrie side. So I don't know if maybe they're denning somewhere around there. I'm not 100% sure. This side of the world, and we've checked, we've tried, but I haven't found any dens. And from Treehouse Dam south, there's not that many likely spots that they could be. I mean, I've driven around there quite regularly with different leopards and never bumped into any signs of a hyena den. There's no wearing of any of the mounds, and so I don't actually know where our matriarchs are denning, if they even are denning. I would imagine that they are, but at some stage, but I haven't seen any signs for them in a while, bar those. Paula, you're asking if we can visit the Hyena Den a little bit later. Most certainly we can visit the Hyena Den. I have no problem visiting Hyena Den a little bit later. We're going to tour the dams first and just wait for it to cool down, because I think our hyenas will probably in all likelihood be resting now. It's quite warm, so I would imagine that they're going to be trying to rest in some shade, and the little ones inside the mound. But let's go a little bit later around sunset and see. Maybe we get lucky. We'll go check Chitwa, and if there's only a Chitwa, then we'll come up towards the den site. The nice thing is that with the IR we can sit there even if it gets a little dark and just switch to IR and watch the little ones in infrared, so that's okay. So that will be the plan. We can most certainly do that. I did check this morning, unfortunately no sign of them. Philip, you're asking if the lower ranking females ever try and take over and become matriarchs, or is it too rigid a structure for that to happen? It's generally 99% of the time too rigid a structure, and there's females that sit below the matriarch that are generally bigger, more powerful, and are higher ranking than those lower down, and they keep them at bay as well. So you must remember, if it's a low ranking female, let's say hypothetically like Gwen, she's going to have to fight 3 or 4 different females to be able to then become a matriarch, and to get through that is almost impossible. She's going to get so many injuries trying to fight with that many hyenas that she's going to get herself into trouble. So generally no. Sometimes you find a case where, let's say maybe lions kill the matriarch and there's a little bit of a flutter, and the matriarch's younger daughters are maybe a bit small, and then you can see a female stepping in and taking over and her becoming the matriarch. That sometimes happens, but it's very, very seldom that we see a coup going on. And I was actually saw a post from one of our viewers about hyenas today, which was very interesting, and about how it works with the males, and that the males, if they're born into the clan, then they generally are considered at the same level as what their mother is, so they will not fall right to the back end of the clan. But if they are a male that comes from outside, then generally they will end up being right at the bottom below even the cubs. So the males, when they're born into a clan from that female, they fall at the same level as her cubs, but not as high as any of the adult females. But if they come into the clan, they're right down at the bottom. But interestingly enough, the females tend to favor mating with males that are from outside the clan as opposed to mating from males inside the clan, and that's probably all to do with genetics, maybe it's nature's way of being able to just stop a bit of inbreeding from happening. But interesting nonetheless, and it's amazing what's happening nowadays. You know, as technology has gone on, so our ability to follow and monitor and study is getting that much better, and we're slowly but surely decoding a lot of interesting behavior out of some of our more secret nighttime creatures, as well as the fact that a lot of people are starting to really enjoy seeing hyenas, and the conception and the misconception around them, and the thoughts about hyenas is slowly but surely starting to change and starting to ebb into people enjoying them rather than criticizing and villainizing them for being what they are. So it's really cool to see. I've had lots of guests on safaris in the last few years, and in the beginning I didn't really hear it much, but now going later I've had a lot of them that have started to say, you know, can we go and see hyenas? Is there Hyena Den? Which is encouraging. It's great news, and it means that word about hyenas and their intelligence and the way that they move is getting out there, which is fantastic. And it means that we're going to see hopefully a lot more people actually studying and spending time with them than not. Now there is a plant right on my left hand side, which is a beautiful sign, because we've just had a bit of rain, and I would have thought we would have started to see signs like this. These guys have been flowering prior to the rain, but this one I think has come out since the rain started. I definitely haven't noticed it until now. And this is a burbean, so you can see the bright red flowers. And the other day we were watching, I don't know, we had a burbean somewhere where we had the brown-headed parrots and the sunbirds that were feeding off it. So I think it was in the Mulawati somewhere. But this is a nice look at those flowers, and we can get up nice and close to them because we are right next to the road. And there's also even the little fruits that are in there as well by the looks of things. Or are those the flowers budding? Oh, there's the budding flowers that we're seeing over there. So nice to see the bright red color, and I can tell you that it is a vivid red. It's almost kind of Valentine's Day red, and then the rest of the branch you can see is quite green and sort of sparse at the moment. There's some small little ones that are starting, also with a bit of lichen next to it. So that grey structure that you see there is lichen that is growing on the tree itself. That is a parasite basically that is on the tree. It's not going to cause too much damage. It's not feeding off too much of that tree, and in fact it's this very small percentage of it on there. But very nice to see colour in the bush again. It's been a while since we've seen bright reds like that, and the only bright reds we've seen is our ground hornbills and murder ink. Roshni, no, it is not a succulent. This particular one is a dwarf bourbean, but we also do get the weeping bourbean, which is massive tree. I will show you one later. But this is just a little dwarf bourbean. They don't get very big, but it is a wooded plant. It is not a succulent in any way. It is a wooded tree, and like I said, those are still flowers that are going to open. That's just the buds that we're seeing now, and eventually they'll open into these bright red flowers that will be full of nectar and very beautiful. Nice, very nice to see. Kristen, no, these are not the beans, that's magic beans or lucky beans that Ali uses. That is a different plant. That is the lucky bean creeper that she refers to. This is a flower. Those are seeds that Ali has. So it's a little bit of a different plant altogether. Like I say, one's a creeper and one's a tree. This is just the flower that's coming out now, and it's this time of the year that we do see the bourbeans flowering. So it's very common to see these at this time of the year, and we'll see lots more of them. And even the big bourbeans that we see on the termite mounds and in the riverbeds, which I'll hopefully be able to show you this afternoon, and I'll give you an idea of just how much bigger they can. It's not a so succulents tend to be quite very dry, small and very dry areas. Even though we are sort of quite dry in the savannah, we're not that dry that we have a lot of succulents. There's very few succulents here. In fact, the only succulent that I've seen so far on Djuma is prickly pears, which are actually not supposed to even be here anyway. They're invasive species that unfortunately often get maneuvered about, particularly by elephants. Elephants feed off them and then they kind of defecate the seeds somewhere else. Christy, you're asking if there's a lot of different berries that are edible. Christy, a lot. There are many berries that are edible out here. We've got the guarries that will soon be forming berries, which are all these small green trees that you see in front of me. They're going to be fruiting fairly shortly. Then we get the white berry bush, which is quite tasty. There will be, what else comes out? Just trying to think of all the other berries that we have. It's always kind of get stuck on the guarries and the white berry bush. There's also, I suppose, a lot of fruits that we could count, but there's nothing like raspberries or mulberries or anything like that. We don't get any of those things, but we do get a number of different berries, and it'll come to mind as I drive along. I'll see more of them and then remember and think about as I see trees, but there are quite a few, and the white berry bush and the guarries are probably two of the best that we get out here in terms of our berries and what we get that is edible. And then obviously we get marula season, which is not a berry, but they're really very good and are super tasty, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a good marula year. Hopefully we get enough rain that we get really nice big marulas forming. Go up the hill a little bit. You can picture it's just where we are, unfortunately, near Twin Dams, but worth checking in the shade. So, like I say, I'm sorry about the intermittent signal. Twin Dams can sometimes be a little bit tough, but there was a squirrel that was alarm calling, and we know it's a lot of shade, and I've seen Tumba, I've seen Tundi, I've seen Hosana, Shangile, all of them around this area, and it's worth checking because, well, you never know. Squirrels aren't the best and most reliant, but at least it's a good place just to have a look. If you hear them alarm calling, come and check. But I did see another squirrel just darting off to my left, so it could have just been a territorial alarm call between them. Now, I'm going to quickly go back towards the dam just now and try and check around the water properly, because I didn't really have that good a look, and try and see if maybe the squirrel saw something a little further afield. And while I do that, Brent seems to have caught up with his cheetah, and hopefully they will stay close to the road and not disappear this afternoon.
Welcome back. As I said, we're in search of that gorgeous female cheetah we spent the majority of the morning with, and luckily we have found her. Unluckily, she is in the high usage zone, and I was chatting to Alfred, one of the wardens from the Mara Conservancy, which run the Mara Triangle, saying she tried at about 1 o'clock this afternoon and she was unsuccessful. So there she is, sitting on top of a termite mound. Now, there are some potential prey species around. Up ahead of her, there are some Impala. But as I said, it's quite difficult country. She's in amongst the croton thickets. The croton are those little bushes that occur on the rocky outcrops here. There we go. They're very, very nice smelling. If you crush the leaves, they have a whiff of lavender. And there we go. So she's sitting there. I'm almost certain she is going to get up on the hunt again, and I think she will be making her way back towards an area where we will have better access to her. So as a lot of you know, it's time for the patience game, and often we're asked, what is the most important thing when you're out on safari? And the most important thing, if you want to see those absolutely fantastic sightings, is of course patience. And we've got a lot of that, especially when dealing with big cats. Cheetah are one of the more active cats, and they'll probably only sleep for about 12 or 13 hours a day, as opposed to Lion, who can sleep for up to 22 hours in a day. So, probably, how far you reckon, Davy? 800-900 meters? Yeah, from where we are. So, luckily for us, when we were driving up, she was sitting on top of the termite mound, which made her much easier to spot. Now, remember, if you have any questions about Cheetah or the Mara, a hashtag Safari Live on Twitter will be the best way to get them through to us. Mr. P is wondering how old is she. She's about 3 years old. I'm 90% certain it is one of Kakenya's daughters. Now, Kakenya is one of the dominant females to the south of the Mara Triangle. Oh, there we go, she's up. As I say, now the trick is trying to guess where she comes out next. So about 3 years old, so she's busy searching for her own home range. She's been making some bad decisions in life and spending time in what I like to call the clan lands, which is where the North Clan of hyenas are, and there's over 90 hyenas in that clan, so they often give all the cheetah, lions and everything in that area a hard time. Okay, we're going to have to skedaddle up the road, see if we can find a spot where she's going to pop out, and hopefully we'll have her coming closer to the road shortly. So I think she might, there's a little sort of valley between the two little hills there, and I'm hoping she goes directly through there and comes up towards the main road there. There's a big herd of Impala, and there's quite a lot of cover for her, so it could be a good spot, but she's still probably about 1 kilometer from there. Of course, she could change her mind. If she heads further to the east, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to stick with her, as it goes right into some really, really big rocky outcrops where not even I could follow her. So as I said, I'm hoping she's going to come through this little valley here. Things is quite amazing. When a cheetah walks, she really walks. I mean, she can cover massive distances, and they can do 10, 20 kilometers in a day, especially if they've been harassed or they're looking for love. Okay, so this is where I'm hoping she might pop out, in this area here, or at least give us a glimpse of where she might be heading. As I said, there's some Impala up there. Now, Christy is wondering how many coalitions of cheetah are there out here. Christy, that we see regularly, we've got the 2 males in the triangle. There she is. She's done exactly as I hoped she would do. She's popped out. She's heading straight towards us. A little bit to the right, Dave. I think she's just behind that termite mound, a little bit to the left. The termite mound with the bush. Let me move for you, Dave. Sorry, I've put you in the spot. Can you see her now? Just have a look. You got it. Okay, so there we go. So that's very good. Christy, back to your question. Male coalitions, of course, you have the 5 boys. Then she's decided to have a snooze on another termite mound. But she is heading in the right direction, which is towards us. But so we've got the 5 males, 2 males in the south of the triangle, called the Triangle Boys, and then we've got the 5 males. We've got another 2 males that come in and out around Sala's Sand River that go into Tanzania, and then there's quite a few single males around. But so main coalitions, 3, but there's lots of single male cheetah around as well. Now, female coalitions, there's only 1 that I know of presently, and that is, of course, Amani's daughters. And that is not a permanent situation. Those 2 female cheetah are still quite young, and they've just left mom, so they will split once they become sexually mature. And can you believe that behind her, what you're looking at is actually the opposite bank of the Mara River. So she's up above the Mara River. There we go. Oh, there's wildebeest on the other side there, David. Oh, I think we might have to go there tomorrow. There's some wildebeest and zebra in the distance. Ali. Ali would like to know whether cheetahs' territories are similar to the other big cats like lion and leopards, so multiple females within males' territory. Now, one of the most interesting things about cheetah, Ali, is that is not the case. It is the only one of the big cats that needs a male dominant sexual bias to be successful in terms of breeding. So everything else, you want a dominant female sexual bias, so you want a few males mating with multiple females. Now, cheetah, it's the opposite. Now, female cheetah will often have to be stimulated and basically chase away and say no to up to 3 or 4 males or male coalitions before they are actually ready to mate. So it is the complete opposite of all other big cats and most cats in general, is the fact that they need more males than females to have a successful breeding ratio. Now, this is one of the things that makes cheetah breeding quite difficult. It can, in captivity, that people struggle, because that is a very difficult thing to manage, having multiple males close by to a female. But it is a very unique thing with big cats, that the cheetah need more males than females. Now, their home ranges and territories are also much bigger than lion and leopard, so they'll cover a much bigger distance than the other big cats, and their home ranges and territories are in comparison quite vast. A male coalition can have sometimes up to 70,000-80,000 hectares. That's 140,000 acres, where there is 5 male lions will only have about 22,000-23,000 acres. So it is amazing how the different cats have their different strategies. Okay, well, it sounds like Tristan, apart from being spotty, full of bug bites, has found a spot of luck back in South Africa.
I have indeed, and look at that. There is little Hosana sleeping not too far from where the squirrel was alarm calling, so it was perfect for us to go and check that squirrel, because that allowed us to actually spot him lying in some shade. So he's back towards Twin Dams area and having a good rest. So it must be his tracks that I found with that near that Verreaux's eagle owl this morning. And well, I'm glad that we came and actually checked at that squirrel, because it's allowed me to find him sleeping away in the shade as per normal. So really excited to see him again. I know it's in the similar place and he's pretty much fast asleep and not doing too much, but I didn't actually expect him to be here, and I was, when I saw that squirrel and the squirrel kind of went quiet, I was thinking maybe we've missed him, but it was worth checking around and actually making 100% sure that he wasn't around. And well, there we go. So it just goes to show you should always double check things. Even the most unreliant alarm calling animal out here is sometimes worth checking out. But he's fast asleep. There is a bit of a breeze blowing, so where he's lying now is absolutely perfect. He's got a breeze that's kind of coming off the water side. It's a nice cool breeze, and he's in some shade, so he'll be feeling rather satisfied with life. Now, does look like he might have had a small meal last night. He's got a bit of a roundish tummy. It's not round, but maybe caught something like a scrub hair or something like that. You can see there's a bit of a bulge there. I know yesterday he was also looking quite full, but that's definitely a little fuller than what I saw last night. So I think he's maybe caught something small, and maybe, like I say, maybe something like a scrub hair. He likes scrub hairs. Also, we know lots of cane rats around the Mulawati system, especially down south towards Little Gowrie. Could have got maybe a cane rat, or you never know what else he's found, maybe a squirrel or a terrapin or something like that. So it seems as though him and Shongile have graduated from terrapins, though. Justin, you say, Hosana sleeping as usual. He has been a very sleepy cat of late, hasn't he? He's spent a lot of time resting and taking it very easy around Twin Dams, but I'm not going to complain. I would rather watch a sleeping leopard any day of the week than no leopard at all. So I'm super happy that he has spent time here. He's really been, this cycle for me, or in the last few weeks at least, he's been probably the leopard I've seen the most, which is really good, because I went for a long period where I actually didn't spend much time with Hosana at all. In the first few months I was here, he was far more elusive than what Shongile was, and it's been so nice to actually catch up with him and get to know him a little bit better. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed all of our Hosana sightings that we've had, and he's provided us with great sightings. It started out with the Tundi shadow sighting at Treehouse, and then he had his kill, and he was up and down. He played around with hyenas the one morning, was very playful with his stick, and then we had a situation where he came down to this area. He had the square off with the tumba. We've had him last night going after varying different things and moving around all over the place, and so he's not been too bad. While we've had lots of bouts of him sleeping, we've also had really great activity from him. He's hunted as well, so we've had a good time with Hosana, and I thoroughly have enjoyed every minute that we've been managed to spend with him over the last little bit. Philip, there comes a whole bunch of Impalas. Now this is going to be interesting to see. You can see they've spotted the car, and immediately they're like, hang on a second, the cars don't park there normally. What is going on? So I wonder if they will see this leopard. I don't think so. Maybe they'll just watch us for a bit, and hopefully Hosana doesn't move his tail or anything like that and give himself away. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Hosana if the Impalas do come to drink. But Philip, the reason why a squirrel will alarm call is because, let's say the squirrel comes out onto a branch, Hosana all of a sudden lifts his head for some reason, which they do, even going from sleeping, they sometimes twitch an ear or lift their heads, and that squirrel hasn't noticed that leopard then, so he's shouting, or she's shouting, to warn everybody else, hey, I've seen a predator here. Even though it's sleeping, we know that leopards can go, or lions, or any predator, can go from sleeping to hunting in a matter of seconds, and so it's telling everyone, I've spotted something here, be careful everybody, don't worry, don't come too close, and be aware of what's going on. And so even a sleeping cat is a dangerous cat, and so that's why the squirrels are alarm calling even at a sleeping individual. Oh, dreaming. Look at him dreaming. Ilana, 14 years old. Hello, Ilana. You want to know, does he ever interact with his sister? I haven't seen him interact with his sister since that night with Tundi, and that's because we haven't seen his sister since that night. So it seems as though very little interaction with her these days. Obviously, we don't know what goes on in the middle of the night. Sometimes he might bump into her, and they might stay together for a little bit and then break apart. But it seems as though that is really starting to come to an end. Although the day that she fought with Tundi, Hosana was lying right next to her, and the two of them were as though they had never been apart. So I think they still recognize each other, but their amount of interaction together seems to be a lot less. Hosana seems to love this southern section a lot more than what Shongile does. I think Shongile has found a lot of pressure coming from the likes of Tundi down here, and has shifted northwards from what we can make out. Obviously the last month has been difficult because we really haven't seen any sign of Shongile, and we don't actually know. I suppose we have seen signs, we've seen tracks for her, but we just don't know where she's hanging out that much. And so the likelihood of her bumping into Hosana, if she's spending more time up towards the north, is less, because he seldom is up near Djuma camp. He tends to spend most of his time around this area and Little Gowrie. What are you dreaming about? There's lots of twitching going on. all over the face. And it's not flies. I was looking to see if maybe flies were landing on him, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's really just having a bit of a twitch. Now the impalas are slowly but surely coming down to drink. You can see they're a bit nervous. They're unsure about why I'm parked here. This is an unusual place for a vehicle to be, and impalas, make no mistake, are not stupid animals. They know full well that there are predators that lurk in these areas and that they need to be careful, and that vehicles sometimes follow predators. You'll find impalas always stop and look at vehicles when they're parked in odd places, and you can see them slowly but surely coming down. Now I do apologize if there's an aerial in the way. It's just where we've parked with Hosana means that the impalas are kind of behind me at the moment. I don't want to move now because that will most certainly attract the attention of these impalas, but what we need is these impalas to make some sort of a noise and for Hosana then to wake up and see them. But he's really got very little chance here, unfortunately. Those impalas are way out in the open and he won't get anywhere near them. They've come down too quickly and he's not in a position where he can stalk them unless they start moving around to this section, which I suppose is possible, but I doubt it. I doubt that he's going to be able to get anywhere near these impalas over the next little bit. He's going to have to, unfortunately, just be patient and wait for a while. I also don't think the impalas are going to walk straight towards us. We know impalas very seldom do that. They're not like things like buffalo or even nyala or kudu that will kind of walk in our general vicinity. They tend to be animals that like to just shift off from us a little bit. They're wary of vehicles, and it's interesting just watching them. They're super nervous about drinking. They probably can pick up a scent that maybe a cat has been around. You never know if Hosana at some point was drinking in this area. So like I said, I do apologize about the area. I just don't want to start and attract any attention to Hosana and disturb either the impalas or him too much. You know, at the end of the day, the impalas are hot, they're thirsty. It's a risk for them to come and drink, so I don't want to put them off either. I want them to at least get the water that they want and leave them to carry on with the day. But how beautiful is that reflection as they move around the dam? Very pretty, isn't it? Well, I think so anyway. Hosana, there's food behind you. I think Hosana is so fast asleep it almost looks like he's drooling. If you have a look just below his chin, there's a little wet spot on the soil that I didn't notice until now. So if you have a look just in, there we go, you can see it almost looks like he's so fast asleep that there's a bit of drool that has come out. Hosana, are you a tired boy that you're drooling? Seems like it. Also, the thing is, the impalas have made no noise whatsoever, and there's no oxpeckers, so there's no oxpeckers alerting him to the presence of these impalas. If there was oxpeckers, they would squawk and squeak and make a lot of noise, and he would know, okay, hang on a second, oxpeckers mean potential food, and he would then pop his head up. But the lack of oxpeckers making noise means the impalas are actually very quiet as they move around within this particular section, and it seems like they're going to be able to drink with Jerry, you say he's probably dreaming about an Impala burger. Maybe. Well, there's an Impala burger just behind him, should he want. Making a problem again. Can you hear me now, Senzo? There we go, that's better. So I do apologize about our loss of audio. We know this morning I had a few issues with it, and hopefully it will go away and stop its nonsense. We will send the bad juju away. But talking about burgers, we actually had burgers for lunch today. Very delicious burgers. There was even a little garlic sauce there, and I was saying to Lou and Megan, I called Amanda's burgers the death burger because they are these massive things that could feed probably about 5 people, and they have got these big freshly made bread rolls, and we get obviously this massive burger patty on it, and it really is quite delicious. But they make you feel like you've eaten, like I say, 10 or 12 burgers instead of just one. What's that?
You can't finish them.
You can't finish them. There you go. Senzo just says you can't finish them. So I didn't eat the roll today. I just had what was inside the roll, because otherwise it makes you feel so heavy, particularly when it's a bit warm, that you kind of can't move afterwards. So they are amazing, but they definitely are not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure. But you can see our impalas are going without Hosana even realizing. Judy is asking if the Hosana would not smell the impala. You would think he would, but maybe just the way that the wind is blowing, it's not quite coming from where he is. It might be, from where they are. It might just be shifting slightly off, because it looks like it's coming from an easterly direction, and they are north of us. So maybe their scent is just blowing a little sort of north of him, and he's actually not picked up their scent at all. Also, they were very quiet. There was no sign of any oxpeckers, which would have led to him being able to, like I say, hear them, and therefore this is the situation that we end in, where he's still sleeping. Impalas have come down and gone, and poor Hosana has missed a chance. Either way, though, he would never have really gotten this right. It's not the right way. That's it. For hunting, he's out in the open. Even if he popped his head up, those impalas would have seen him immediately. As soon as his head went up, they would have seen him. So he needs a situation where he needs to get into one of these quarry thickets and then wait for them to drink, and then basically come past him again before he comes out and kills one. But I reckon in the near future we are going to find Hosana on a carcass here somewhere, him or Tumba, one of the two. They spend so much time at Twin Dams at the moment. It's getting dry. The dams are drying by the day, and I reckon that sooner or later one of them's going to figure out a technique here, and they're going to grab themselves a big carcass in this area and be able to then have a really big meal. The problem with Twin Dams is there's not really that many trees that he can drag it into. He's got a situation where he's got to kind of drag quite far towards the Mulawati to get it into one of those big jackalberries maybe, so it's going to be a hard place to keep a kill in this area. Also, lots of hyenas come past here during the night. Adele, you're asking if I think Hosana will be a big male when he's fully grown. Adele, the leopards of the Sabi Sands, all the males generally are rather large. There's very few small males that we've had in the Sabi Sands. They tend to all be quite big, given that there is a lot of prey items here. They get a lot of protein in the form of big animals like impalas, and so they generally, a lot of them also get from have really good mothers that give them a lot of food, and so they do grow quite big. Whether or not he's going to be the biggest male, I don't think so. I don't think he's quite got the potential to be that big. His paw size and his general body size is not massive. I don't think he's going to be that big, but you never know. Sometimes they go through growth spurts when they hit that testosterone flush as they become these dominant males, where they start to try and dominate and they start to scent mark. That causes this flush of testosterone which bulks him up, and he might be, I think wherever he goes, he's going to be a male that's going to be very squat and quite well built. I think he's going to be quite a wide leopard, much like what Mvula was. Mvula's not the tallest, but he's a big leopard in that he was wide, he was muscular, he was powerful, and I think that's going to be the same situation with Hosana. Tumba, on the other hand, I think maybe is going to be a little bit bigger. And we know that the two of them met recently. Tumba is 6 months younger and was about the same size as Hosana already. So, he's got that 6 month period where he's going to grow, and we'll see who's going to end up bigger. The thing is about male leopards is it's not so much about how big they are. I mean, size does help, but it's going to be experience, and it's going to be their way that they move around and they use their brains to that first little bit. Because the thing is he's going to have to find a territory where he's not going to compete, because he'll never be as big as a dominant male straight off the bat, and so they have to use their brains a little bit and their cunning and their sort of knowledge of an area to be able to dominate. But while we watch Hosana sleep and rest, I believe Tayla McCurdy's out and also has a flat cat.
Well, hello everybody. Look at that. The lions have been sleeping, and as soon as you come to us, they pop their heads up to say hello. How obliging. Good afternoon. My name is Tayla, and on camera with me today is, of course, Craig, and we are sitting out here on this wonderful day. It's actually starting to get a bit windy. Now, I must apologize for my tardiness. We had some problems with the car, but we fixed them, and now we're ready and rearing to go. And we've got 2 lions that are just, well, sitting off into the distance. Now, I've only really seen this one that's lifted its head up towards us, and just by the looks of it, it looks like it's a young male. I could see a little bit of mane starting, but the other one I haven't really had a chance to see, just because it's been laying flat like that and almost impossible to tell from this angle. But I don't really see too much mane at all developing, but this fella in front is a young boy. He's not old at all. Maybe only about 2.5, somewhere around there. Shame. So I wonder who he's been sitting with. Now, I suspect that these are the lions that we saw last night. I told you about them. They were very, very far away, and they actually haven't moved much at all from where they were last night, but just too far out of our infrared zone, and it's a non-off-roading area, but they're much closer to the road this time, so that's good news for us. Are you going to get up? What are you going to do? They don't look too thin either. Looks like there's a little bit of a bulge. I couldn't even tell you if they'd eaten anything yesterday from the distance that they were at. So I've never seen these cats before. These are 2 new lions for me. And hopefully they cross over the road and into an area where we'll be able to follow them. I haven't actually seen much game around either this afternoon. It's been fairly quiet. But if you have just joined us, welcome. It's great to have you here. Remember, you can hashtag Safari Live for any of your questions. Oh, a request from Paula. I have to dig into the box. Paula, you're wondering if Maurice is on Game Drive? Of course, Maurice. Because of the weather. He does not like it when it rains because he gets frizzy hair. I don't blame him. I know all about that, Maurice. So, the washing machine soon. We'll see how that goes. Hope he doesn't shrink. It'll be terrible. Yeah, he's not impressed with sleeping lions, though. Maybe like to see a cheetah. I don't think Maurice has ever seen a cheetah before. What about bat-eared foxes? I haven't even seen you since this morning. I've got so many stories to tell you. So, last night while Craig and I were out and about, we saw all sorts of wonderful things. We had these lions. Obviously, we spent the afternoon with you and the cheetah, which was fantastic. Wasn't it so beautiful? Maybe we get a sighting like that tonight. But I feel like we were quite lucky there. And then we also saw a leopard, which is nice, and I believe she was sighted not too long ago, but she's disappeared and they can't see her anymore. So we'll let her just rest up and give her a bit of a break, and then we'll go and investigate. Actually, not too far from the lions, maybe about 400 meters from here. I can actually see the drainage line. So we'll go and have a look there. And then I saw 2 different bat-eared fox sightings last night, which was really great. One just by itself, moving around zebra, and then another with a pair of them running around in the grass, quite close to the car. So that was really nice. Not quick enough to get a picture, I'm afraid. But yes, so that was our adventure last night. We also saw a lovely white-tailed mongoose hyena interaction, where basically the white-tailed mongoose just sat very still as the hyena ran around it. But I hadn't seen that before, so that was quite nice. All quite close to the leopard as well, but the leopard was fast asleep. She was not interested in really doing anything other than occasionally poking her ears above the grass. And Craig would panic every now and then when we take our eyes off the screen because she would just disappear in the grass. But our lions look fairly relaxed. Just except the odd foot, what is a foot? Foot twitching? Must be some flies about. Hopefully the wind will be helping keep that off them though. Alice, I didn't quite hear the last part of that question, and I feel like that was the vital part. So I'll try and answer it. Please may I have it again? Ah, there we go. Now, I don't know if I'm hearing correctly, but I'm just going to go with it. Alice, feel free to chime in and correct me at any time. Philip, that's the question from, who it's from, Philip. And he's wondering, is that lion close to starving time? How far away? I don't know why I can't hear it properly. It just sort of muffles out. Oh, no, it's right. Okay. Well, he doesn't look very thin from here. I think he looks fine. It would be nice if he maybe rolled over, then we could see what the other one's belly was looking like. But like I said, I can't see any ribs. They definitely don't look like they haven't been fed. Oh, it also looks like another male. So it's 2 young boys. I can just see a hairy chest now on the one laying further to the back. And then there's another part of it that tells you that it's a boy, but I won't be pointing that out. It's fairly obvious. So 2 young boys. They're fine. Like I said, last night was hard. I couldn't really see them. They were probably another 150 meters away from where they already are now, laying flat on the grass. So they could have caught something small, maybe something like an Impala. Thompson's a gazelle. They're very inexperienced. They don't look like I haven't seen them yet. I suppose I can't judge a book by its cover. Hey, who knows? They might be champion hunters. And here I am insulting them. But from my experience, young male lions are not necessarily the most coordinated things. I mean, even just watching young leopards grow up, they're very clumsy. But it's okay. That comes with experience. So they might not necessarily be catching big things like buffalo, but they'll be definitely chasing after impala. When the wildebeest and zebra are around, I'm sure they give that a bash, and there is no shortage of warthogs either. Those are plentiful at the moment, so that's quite cool. Maybe we'll get to see that. But hang on, Alice. because that question was just too fantastic. Who is it from? I'm so sorry that my comms are coming through. It might just be my earpiece. I think Craig's are fine. Kimmy, oh my goodness, Kimmy K, you have just made my day by asking if Maurice could have possibly made Poogie, and if any of you know who Poogie is Tristan's speaker, his little portable speaker that is in the emoticon shape of, well, a chocolate ice cream swirl, but could also be interpreted as something else. That was very funny. I loved that. And Alice, you have to tell Tristan, because he'll thoroughly enjoy that. I don't even know if Tristan knows who Maurice is. I'll have to send him a selfie and introduce him officially to the rest of the team. Maurice has got no manners at all. I have to have a word with his mother. But anyways, these cats are lovely, and, you know, it's starting to cool down now. The wind is starting to blow a bit. They're rolling around a little bit. Perhaps they've been sleeping all day. Maybe they didn't even get up since we last saw them yesterday, other than move 150 meters, which is not particularly far and doesn't require too much energy. So maybe they'll get up and do something fantastic for us, as long as they're going to do fantastic things on this side of the river. I'm not interested if they want to cross the river, because I can't get there. We're stuck this side. Not that it's a bad thing, it's beautiful here. Last night we had lion, leopard, cheetah. What else do you need? And lots of antelope, but not today. The antelope have now gone. Now, Jan, you're wondering how many mils of rain has fallen over the past few days. I've literally stopped and asked every single person that I've driven past, well, maybe every second person, over the last 4 days, inquiring about rain. And nobody has an answer for me. So I'm going to guess. Now, we know that this area has a huge amount of rain, but we're not quite even, I don't even know if the rain is supposed to come this early this year. I mean, from what I've read, they say typically you get the first downpour at about, when was it? In November. What is that noise? It sounds like there's a horror movie. Could you hear that creaking? I don't know if anyone else could hear that. Sorry, I had a moment there. The camera just started going like, you know, in a horror movie just before something really bad's going to happen. It was quite eerie, actually. It made me turn and look around. It was very funny. Anyway, so I'm not sure how much rain we have. I think we've had at least 150 mils of rain in the last couple of days. If not even more, I think I'm not being generous enough. But quite a bit of rain. It's quite nice. Anyways, I am going to send you now to my friend Tristan, and I really want to hear his response about whether he thinks Maurice could have created Poogie.
Well, Tayla, unfortunately not. Poogie was around before Maurice even existed, but maybe Maurice's mom would have produced Poogie, because as you can see, Poogie is quite big in comparison to Maurice, so I think it must have been Maurice's mom that left a little Poogie behind. But there's Poogie with Hosana making friends. Poogie is a friendly character. He likes to make friends with some of the other animals out here. He likes to kind of have a little look, and you can see, look at that smile on his face, super happy to be seeing our leopard Hosana this afternoon. So that's one happy Poogie, that's for sure. Now hopefully Hosana doesn't take a liking to him and come and grab him and take him away. That won't be ideal. But the Impala spotted him just now and let out one little alarm call, to which Hosana lazily lifted his head, looked round at them, and I promise you must have looked at it for about 1 second before flopping back down again. And then if you look at his front paw area, you can see that there is a big streak that cut in the sand. So you can see there's like a mark there. Poor Hosana has been fighting with his own front leg. He tries to put it in front there, and it keeps just sliding backwards down into the ditch. And he's having a tough time of it. You can see there's a number of drag marks there of his leg just doing its own thing. The leg wants to be in the ditch, and Hosana wants it up on the top. And it's all been a little bit complicated to try and keep it in place. So it's been entertaining to watch him trying to go about his business and trying to kind of keep his leg staying where it's supposed to be. Shame, Hosana. Is life hard when your leg doesn't cooperate? You can hear the go-away birds are starting to alarm call at him now. So even though he's flat, like we were saying earlier, or sleeping, everybody knows that a sleeping leopard doesn't stay a sleeping leopard, and so everyone needs to be warm. Now there's a brave Starling, Birchall Starling, coming our way as well, which is looking beautiful in the afternoon light. It's amazing the colors that these birds possess. When the light hits them, they get these iridescent blues and purples, and it is absolutely incredible when you see them in real life. Now, probably the most beautiful starling in the world is the one that Brent and Tayla will be seeing up in the Mara, the superb starling. It's one of my most favorite birds. Those colors are just insane. The Burchell starling, however, is a little bit more drab. It doesn't have that bright orange. It's only got the blues and dark kind of purple and magenta, well, not magenta, purple colors is probably the best way to describe it. But interestingly enough, that is not the actual colors of this bird. This bird is black in color, and it's only because there is a reflection of light through the structure of the feathers and the oils that are on the feathers that give us this iridescent sheen. There's actually no blue or purple pigments within that bird, which is quite amazing. Now, there is a different type of starling also here, but a little bit further up and to the left of where this one is. So you just see it running on top of the bank there, Senzo. So that's, you'll see this starling has got a bright yellow eye in comparison to the Burchell starling that had that very dark eye and was more purple. You see this one has got a more metallic sort of greeny blue color, and this is the greater blue-eared starling. You can see that big blue ear covert that it's got that differentiates it from the Cape Verlossi starlings that we also see in this area. And starlings are a very regular feature of an area and close to water. They often are around, looking around for insects, and particularly if there's been a few animals that have moved through. So things like impalas, it often disturbs a few insects, and then these guys can go off and feed. But Hosana is sleepy. It's amazing how relaxed this cat is. It baffles me. He's generally doesn't care for a vehicle in the world. I mean, we moved slightly and we're not far from him at all. I mean, we're as close as you could probably ever be to a wild leopard, and he did not even flinch, open his eyelids. You can see where I am in relation to him. We are really right next to him actually, and he's completely not worried and not in any way fazed by us. A lot of other leopards would never let you get to where we are now, so we're super spoiled in having a leopard as relaxed as this. It's pretty incredible to be sitting this close, and at the end of the day I actually don't even have anything in between me and him. There's literally not even a door or anything else, and it's amazing that he doesn't worry about it at all. Proud cat mother, you want to know what are some of the similarities between wild and domestic cats? Well, I mean, other than they look very similar, just big scaled up versions. Obviously they have different coat patterns that suit their lifestyles as a wild individual, but remember, domestic cats did come from the wild at some point, so very similar in a lot of respects. Their dental structure is very similar, their foot structure, in fact their whole skeletal structure is very similar. In terms of behavior, obviously that's influenced by habitat, so you'll have a situation where leopards are more suited for ambush predators, so their physiology is slightly different to that of a cheetah, which is designed to be more of a speed animal. So there's slight differences between each ones, and slight differences with the way that they actually are built, but essentially very similar to domestic cats. But you must also remember that things like leopard, lion, cheetah are part of the Panthera family, and that means that they are able to roar, which domestic cats can't do. So domestic cats are much closer to things like serval, caracal, African wildcat, black-footed cat, those kind of individuals, where they are pretty much an extension of those families. They just have slight differences in their coat patterns and have changed because of domestication in their behavior, but essentially they are very, very, very much the same animals and have pretty much the same senses in terms of hearing, smelling, seeing. They're very, very sharp, defined. They have the claws that protract. They have, the long tail for helping with balance, and effectively are predators that will hunt small rodents, birds, and varying other things that domestic cats would also go after. So that situation is all very similar, whether it's a domestic cat or even these big cats. So it's just dependent on the individuals and also dependent on what the species does in order to survive, that will determine the slight differences between domestic and other cats that live out here in the wild. Hosana, are you going to wake up now that there's a car coming? No. Take care. You're asking if animals get pins and needles in their limbs after lying in awkward positions for extended periods of time. Well, I would imagine that they do get some sort of discomfort. I've often seen lions that have been lying for a long period, or leopards, when they get up, they're kind of a little stiff, and you see them kind of hobbling for a little bit as I'm sure the blood starts to rush into different areas, but it's also why they move a lot. So you'll find with Hosana, even though he's sleeping like this for now, maybe in 20 minutes time he's going to roll onto his other side, he'll roll onto his back, he'll lift his head, he'll move his legs a little bit to help avoid those kind of things. Animals that are not cats, so things like rhino and buffalo and hippo, you'll find that they have to be quite careful. But and I've spent time with guys when they've darted rhinos and elephants and those kind of things. They can get compartment syndrome, which causes actual major damage to their legs if they lie on them for too long, which is, I suppose, what pins and needles is basically the feeling. It's a compression of your leg or your arm or whatever it is, and you lose the feeling. And it's the same thing with those animals. So when you dart those animals, you've got to be very careful, and you've got to make sure that they're lying in the right way, that they're not compressing their legs, which is going to cause permanent damage. So they would most definitely suffer from it if they lay too long. But animals are pretty good at moving, much like us as people. When it starts to feel uncomfortable, we move and we kind of roll onto another way, and then things sort themselves out fairly rapidly. But I would imagine, yes, they do get a very similar effect. Things like cats, though, I mean, the way that they're lying, there's very little pressure actually on any of their limbs at the moment. The way Hosana is lying now, it's not like his body is compressing the weight of any of those legs. I mean, his legs are kind of off to either side, so they're not on top of one another. So I think he'll be just fine at this stage. Not going to cause any pins and needles in those legs for now. And, well, the tail is also completely relaxed as well at the back, so that's not going to add any weight to anything and is not going to get uncomfortable itself. I wonder what these starlings are going to do, because they're running around Hosana, and if his tail flicks, I'm pretty sure they're going to get an absolute fright, although I would imagine that they have seen him and know that he's here. Look, you see his ears moving now? That is because oxpeckers have just arrived at the waterhole, and they just made a little bit of noise and have just kind of made somewhat of a squeak, and that's meant that Hosana is just listening now in case there could be another animal coming to drink. So it's interesting to see how his behavior changes. Now, I believe that Captain McCurdy is piloting a boat through the Mara Ocean as we speak.
Oh my god. Arrgh. Very hard here. I can't speak like a pirate, but obviously I'm the one in the Wild Earth team that had a, pirate patch in their camera box, because who doesn't have one in their camera box? Craig, you've got one in your toolbox, don't you? He says, yeah. He may have borrowed it to his mate, though. Pete, one-legged Pete, but he's not sure just yet. But yes, this was actually, it's a funny story. Remember when I got bitten by a spider on my eye, and I was so embarrassed because I had this big white patch covering it because it was quite swollen, and I thought, I'll just be funny and I'll just wear a pirate patch on Game Drive, and then thank goodness the swelling went down in my eye, came back to normal. Because, phew, but no, I can't do accents. I'm actually really terrible at accents. Tristan is much better. He does Australian, New Zealand, he does a south of Joburg accent very well too, how Byron speaks. Yeah, Tristan's favourite has to be the Australian. When Brent comes back, I know the gremlins have attacked him, unfortunately. I have to take it off, I'm too embarrassed. Too many cars. Too many cars. I'm just going to act like normal now and pretend like I was not doing anything ridiculous at all. So these are all the vehicles that you can hear right behind us making wonderful noise. Hopefully my voice will boom louder than the cars rumbling. So we'll have to get Brent to try and do a pirate accent as well. I'm sure he'll be game. Maybe Jamie a little bit later if she pops up by the end of Drive. You never know. Jamie's full of surprises, especially finding connections to get unstuck in the middle of the night in Masai Mara National Park. That's very impressive. I'm super impressed by that. So we're still sitting with our boys, though. I suppose this is what you actually came to watch, is not watch me talk with my hands and with the pirate eye, but it's actually to watch the lion. So they're rolling around a little bit, haven't done anything exceptional just yet, but we know that won't last. They'll eventually get up and they'll wake up and they'll go on the hunt. So that's ideally what we're going to do, is we're going to sit with them. But maybe what we will do in a little bit, maybe the next 5 minutes or so, we'll go back and see if that leopard is being photographed. Should I smile? Should I do something awkward, Craig? So after the animals here, I kid you not, myself, Jamie, Brent, James, Scott, Tristan, even in the Sabi Sand, we are the most photographed things. People find us fascinating. And cameramen. Of course, we've got Cutthroat Craig, Dave the Dish, you know, Ferg, the Irish, all these wonderfully good-looking men in your cars. People can't help but stare. And khaki fever is a real thing as well, I must tell you. Archer. I think that's why Craig refuses to wear khaki. Hey, Craig. Just have all the girls swooning. But, and one day, well, I suppose we can relate it back to lions, and one day these boys will also be big enough and strong enough to start swooning over prides of lions or lionesses. But right now, not yet. But I haven't seen any girls. While we were sitting out here, and we were sitting with our lovely Cheetah, she went to sleep in the grass, and then we listened to the sounds of the night. The hyenas were everywhere. There are plenty of hyenas around here. I mean, we saw so many of them driving about. And yeah, another one. Ah, Craig. Hang on, Nasiti, our wonderful Ascari. Craig, can you go a little bit to the right in the bushes? A little bit more? It is there, hey? There's another lion. Nasiti is fantastic, everybody. He's great. He does such a great job. He keeps us nice and safe. And he's also the eyes in the car. Hello. So I was saying to Craig, we were actually sitting here earlier, and I said, can anyone else hear another lion going, ooh, ooh, like a little contact call? And then I thought that I was going crazy. Is there another one in there? Craig, can you go into the bushes to the right a little bit more? Yeah, in that little hole. Can you zoom in there very quickly? I just want to see. I thought I see it. And there's more lions. No, that's just grass, I think, hey? See how the grass is a different color, unless my eyes are completely playing tricks on me. But that to me looked like a lion. Well, it's not. Wonderful. So we've got a lioness who's joined the party now. Fantastic. This makes it more complicated. No, oh, hello, Jackie's 8th grade class. Hello, everybody. It's great to have you. I think what you should all do now is you should all try and speak like a pirate. So on 1, 2, 3, go arg me hearty. 1, 2, 3. And I bet none of you did it, though, because you're all too cool to talk like a pirate. So the question was, how old are these lions? They look so young. Well, now, I still stand by my age. I still think they're around between 2 and 2.5, somewhere around there. They're not quite ready. I thought they were looking a little bit young to be on their own, but this makes a little bit more sense that a lioness has popped out. So I'm unsure as to what pride this could be. Maybe the Furungut pride. We're not far from the gate. I don't know how many. Actually, do I have my notebook here? No, I don't have my special notebook with all my lion information in. I don't remember putting down numbers, but Brent has spent a lot of time down here, so when we get comms with him, well, I'll try and pop him a message and just quickly find out exactly how many members are in this pride. But we're right near the gate. We're probably only about maximum of 2 kilometers, if even that, so it's not far at all. So it's quite interesting to see what happens here. They're multiplying lions. And it's good to see that one got up and moved out into the open, because it obviously means that it's not hot enough to lay in the shade. It is comfortable to lay out in the open. Excuse me. Somebody's tickling my throat. Now, Rita, you're wondering what is my favorite sighting in the Mara? So it still has to be the serval versus hyena sighting over wildebeest carcass. That was fantastic, having a serval hiss and whale show its teeth, and I swear it spat in that hyena's face. It was not happy. It was fat, angry serval, and the fact that it stood up to that hyena and they fed on the same carcass is amazing. Obviously the hyena didn't care, was not bothered by it at all in terms of, you know, becoming injured. A hyena is much larger than a serval, and they do have that I don't care attitude. I always say this, it's what I love most about hyenas. They're so persistent and they just don't care. They just do whatever they want, and if you don't like it, too bad. That's their motto on life, and I really enjoy that. But we'll stay around here and see what these lions get up to. What I actually might do is quickly pop across to the drainage line, see if we can't get a view of that leopard. Wouldn't that be nice? But for now, I'm going to send you all the way back into South Africa. Now I'm doing a rip-off South African accent. Back with Tristan, and hopefully he'll speak more like a pirate.
Arr, me mateys, we're here in Wendy, and we've run aground with a leopard. That's my accent, and here's my eye patch. Hello everybody, we've decided to make a shift eye patch, so we've used some gaffer tape, and then we've repurposed my failed earpiece that has been giving me trouble into a strap so that I can keep my eye patch on, and this is how I shall be for the rest of the afternoon. And everybody's already laughing at me because there's other guests here and they are giggling in the background as they look at me. Now don't think I'm the only one. My cam-op has also decided to wear one. Come on Senzo, you've got to take the shades off, buddy. You can't keep the shades on. You're a pirate here as well. There we go. There's my pirate Senzo, because we didn't have another tie for his head. So there's our gangster pirate Senzo. So there we go. Of course, I'm sure Hosana is going to look up at some point and realize, what are these guys doing? And really, they're going to probably have a good laugh at us. Everybody else that drives past, it should be quite entertaining. I have got some friends that are in another vehicle that are on their way, and I'm pretty sure they're going to really laugh at me. They're going to have a situation where they're going to get probably a good giggle out of it. The exciting thing though, and I'm going to turn around quickly because I'm facing the wrong way. I just wanted to show you my eye patch, because if I faced the other way it wouldn't have been as good. So I'm just going to turn quickly, and hopefully Hosana won't wake up. But the other exciting little bit of news is that we can hear some elephants in the distance. So for all of you that thought about the elephants or leopard feeling today, it seems as though our wish is going to come true, and elephants and leopard are going to be at the same waterhole, because just in the Mulawati somewhere I can hear some trumpeting elephants. There was no sign of elephant tracks coming to Twin Dams, which means that hopefully these Ellies are going to arrive at the dam. And wouldn't it be nice to have the Ellies drinking on one side, Hosana this side? It would just be the most perfect way to finish our Tuesday afternoon. Now Peyton, you were saying it felt like the elephant or leopard day, and we then got into why not have both. Hopefully that's going to be the case. I would love to have both of them. It would really be quite fantastic to have them this side. Now Lou, you didn't say whether our pirate accent was better than Tayla's, or if we won. Maybe the rest of the Twitterverse or YouTube can let us know. Hashtag Safari Live or on YouTube chat, who had the better pirate accent, Tayla McCurdy or, well, me, Tristan, on Djuma. So South Africa versus Kenya in a pirate accent off at this stage. But our leopard is still sleepy, still twitching every now and then as he dreams away and has a really good sleep. It's the perfect temperature right now for him to start waking up. It's, as always, Sebastian always tells me, it's leopard time. At this time of the day, whenever we're driving around, Sebastian says to me leopard time, so hopefully that will be what will happen. Now Sindara, you want me to give our best Australian accent. Right, here we go, because everyone's going to laugh at me anyway, I might as well do it. Now, I talk to Tayla a lot like this because she obviously is Australian, and I like to give her a little bit of trouble, but I don't know if I want the camera on me or off me, because it's a bit nerve-wracking to speak. It's always more pressure when you've got the camera on, so now the camera's off, I'll do it. But here we go. Oh, good day, mate. We're here in South Africa, and we're having a little look at this lippy that's sitting on the damn wall, and it really is quite wonderful out here, and it really is very, very good with my cold drink that I've got in the background, and, well, Taylor McCurdy all the way in Kenya, driving around in the Masai Mara. So there's my Australian accent, and that's the accents for the day. I'm done. So we'll have to get Brent Leo Smith involved as well, because Brent also has to give us his pirate accent, and maybe he can give us his accent of choice. And Taylor McCurdy actually needs to give us her Australian accent. She started this, and she needs to also give her best Australian, because, well, like I say, I speak to her in Australian as well, so we're going to try. Now, while Hosana sleeps, there's a very interesting bird that I haven't seen for quite some time, just on the northern side of Treehouse Dam. It's not a bird that is uncommon. There are a lot of them around. I just haven't seen one for quite a long time, and I haven't seen them rooting around. Has it caught something there, Senzo? It looks like it's caught something. So it's a Hammerkop that we've got there. Now, Hammerkop are birds that often are wading on the fringes, and they look for any signs of frogs or fish or anything that they can get their little beaks on, and even freshwater mussels and crabs, they'll go after that as well. But this Hammerkop, you'll see as it goes along the fringes, will use its feet in a little shuffle. It's almost got like a little dance move that it goes along, and it just kind of moves those little feet and shifts out anything that's trapped in the mud, and then uses that big piercing head to grab whatever it is and then shove it down into the stomach. Now, this particular bird, the Hammerkop name. Hammer is a hammer in Afrikaans, and kop is a head in Afrikaans. So when you see its head shape, look, it just likes the top of a hammerhead, and that's why it got that name. Now these birds actually have got a lot of interesting things. They build a massive nest in comparison to the size of them. So they have nests that are bigger than even the Wahlberg's eagle nest that we've been seeing, or the vulture nest. They build massive nests, and they are notorious for being birds that like all kinds of trinkets in their nests. So you'll find, if you go to Hammerkop nest, you'll find bits of glass, you'll find bits of wrapping paper, you'll find anything that is shiny, colorful, that will be inside the nest, and they use that every year unless that gets repurposed by somebody else. You'll find often you'll get a situation where vultures will take it over, or eagles, and I've even seen black mambas taking it over and using it as a home. So black mambas do love a Hammerkop nest, which is why you've got to be very careful when you go anywhere near Hammerkop nest that there isn't a snake lurking. And it's nice that he's come all the way around, that we can see him a lot better. You can see that head now perfectly, just like a hammer, and a very good name, and an apt name for this particular bird. There we go, just caught something. You need to go to where that elephant dung is that we had yesterday. There was lots of little insects around there, and this little bird would have a field day catching all those water boatmen. But the other thing about them is that there's quite a few sort of interesting local theories about them, and now all of a sudden, while I was thinking about it, I've just drawn a blank. I had it earlier as to what the local theories are. What are those walking there? Is that warthogs? Sorry, I've got only one eye, so my binocular vision has gone pear-shaped, but I think there's some warthogs coming. Are those warthogs, Senzo? Yeah. Yes, they are warthogs. So a warthog family on its way to Djuma. It seems as though Twin Dams is a place to be. We don't need to move anywhere. We've had impalas, we've got a leopard, sounds like ellies are on their way, there's some warthogs somewhere, well, arriving at for water. And so it just shows you when the weather changes and we go from that cool weather that we had yesterday to warm weather, how water becomes such a vital part, and why it's important to check water holes in an afternoon when you've got a lot of sun. It means the animals are driven there, they have to drink, they have to rehydrate, and it is the best place to sit in winter months. And that's why you find people, when they go to parks around Africa in the dry months, that they will go and sit at water holes the entire day. And it's amazing actually what comes down through the 24-hour period in hot dry conditions. But how big is this warthog grouping? There is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So a really nice big size of warthogs. There's a female by the looks of it, a male bringing up the ranks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little piglets. So there's actually 8 of them. I counted wrong. Back to school for me to go learn how to count. But there are 8 piglets. Let's see if they're all going to line up. It'll be such a cool picture if we have warties all lining up to drink, because look at the beautiful light on them. Come on guys, get into a nice tight line like a pride of lions, and let's see you all drinking at once. Hosana hasn't seen them at all. He's all just still in Lala land, but it's going to be nice when we have our warties all lined up together. Very cool. And this female's done so well. To have raised 6 piglets is an incredible feat. Piglets are hunted by everything when they're tiny, so snakes, birds of prey, leopard, lion, wild dogs, cheetah, everything will go after baby warthogs. And so for this warthog family to have raised all 6 in a leopard dense environment that is this area around Twin Dams is actually an incredible feat. So they've done super well, and hopefully no Tingana is around, because he would love a warty dinner, that's for sure. And hopefully these guys will survive. How beautiful is that though? Look at the reflections on the water. Whole bunch of warthogs lined up drinking. Not every day that we get that. Our warthogs are generally so shy, but because we're sitting here, we're off, they've approached the water, they've seen us from a long way away. If I had to drive here now, you would find they would all scatter and move out the way, but because we've been sitting for some time, they have relaxed completely and are really enjoying a good drink. So Mom is the one that is on the far left, closest to us, that has got the biggest tusks, and then there it looks like a young male. Noli, you say, wake up Hosana, your food's here. And it seems like Hosana doesn't want Impala, he doesn't want little pork sausages today, so who knows what he feels like. Maybe he wants something else. Maybe he's in for a mood for rabbit tonight, and he wants a scrub hare, or maybe he's going to be a little bit more crazy and go for something like tortoise. You never know. It depends on the evening. What's it tonight? Tuesday. I wonder what dinner club is on Tuesday for a leopard. I don't know. In all seriousness, though, warthogs for him would be quite difficult. He's still not really that big, and that female warthog that's drinking there would be a handful for Hosana. If he grabbed one of those piglets, she would come flying at him and trying to chase him, and he would have a really tough time of it. So it's actually an animal that he's going to struggle with until he gets a little bit more bulky to be able to grab one of those. But how cool was that they came down to drink and had a little bit of water and really just kind of lined up nicely for us. That was very pleasant. I quite enjoyed that. Now hopefully the Ailey's will be the next ones that arrive. Now while we sit here and watch for whatever animal is